It's time now for the KC Ingram Show on WSTU. The opinions expressed are those of the program host and guest and not necessarily those of WSTU. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. And now, here's KC Ingram.
Thank you, and good morning. Are we ready to go, Iggy? All right. Welcome back to the KC Ingram Show. I have another great episode. We are pre-recording this show for WSTU AM 1450. It will air tomorrow, Wednesday, at 10 a.m. But for those of you that follow my Facebook page, you get to join us live right here today. I'll be following comments. If you have any questions or comments, I'll certainly be sharing those here as we record the show. I want to thank my sponsors, Indiantown Marina, folks, as we are getting a graphic example. It is hurricane season. I cannot stress enough, if you have a boat, you need safe harborage. You need to reserve your spots ahead of any hurricane. I highly recommend you do that ASAP. Best place to do that, Indiantown Marina. It's inland on the Lake Okeechobee waterway. And reserve your spot, then you have peace of mind. And honestly, once hurricanes are named, you're not going to find a place to keep your boat in safe harborage in this town. So do yourself a favor, call Indiantown Marina today and reserve your space. Also, I want to thank the Martin County Fair. This is where we're recording from, is my fair office. I'm the new executive director there, but they are also sponsoring my show. I appreciate it so much. And folks, we'll do some shows further down the road specifically about the fair, but a lot of great things are happening with the fair, and we're going to have some announcements here coming up in a couple weeks I think you're going to be interested in, because we are really evaluating our project that's moving us out to Indiantown, and I have exciting news, and folks, we are making great strides. So we'll go into that more down the road when I have more to share, but I want you all to know the Martin County Fair Board, myself, we're working super hard on that, and great things are going to happen. Today, I have Casey Cass in the studio with me. Casey, as you might know, is the co-CEO, is that the way to put it, philanthropic Casco Tools?
Cheerleader.
Yeah, all right. Heather, I know you're out there too. She's not with us today.
I'm the head cheerleader. That's what I say I am.
Heather and Casey out there at Casco Tools are always doing wonderful things, but today we're going to be talking about SOS, Save Our Salerno. Casey, I noticed some things popped up on his Facebook feed a couple weeks ago now, maybe even a little bit more.
About 3 weeks, I think. The last NAC meeting is basically when I got involved.
So your neighborhood advisory committee meeting for Port Salerno. So Casey, I'm going to start out here. Again, we're talking about SOS, Save Our Salerno. Casey is just founding this organization, bringing awareness to things that are happening in Port Salerno. Everybody knows Port Salerno. It's a fun fishing town, and things are, there's some people that are trying to change maybe the look and the feel and that very thing that makes up Port Salerno, makes it special. So Casey, tell us a little bit about Save Our Salerno.
Well, not founding it, I'm just trying to be an integral ingredient in it's being founded. I think that, just to put that up front, what I think it should be is just the residents as the driving force, and the businesses in the area support them. So just to make that aware, I'm not really planning on being a president or anything. I just want to support it.
Well, Casey, I agree with you 100%, except you're the guy that got the ball rolling. And, you know, there's always a person who takes note. And I'm just going to shout out here because you're doing this selflessly. It's nothing, you're not gaining anything personally. It's a community that you love, and you just wanted to bring awareness. Amy Pritchard, appreciate you tuning in. Amy is one of our Martin County School Board members, and she said, let's go, KC and KC.
I love Amy.
The man has brought our community together for the very best reason, and isn't that the truth?
So, yeah, before we really talk about the issues, I'll say that the one positive thing of this is it's banded people together. I have more new friends than I had 4 weeks ago.
Casey, every time I see a post on social media about Save Our Salerno, it's on Nextdoor, it's on Facebook, it's on Stewart Locals, it's everywhere. There are a lot of people that are banding behind you and are speaking up, and they're so grateful that this issue has been brought to the forefront, which is why we're having this show today, to even share it with even more folks.
Right. So basically, I started hearing rumors about a developer that had been working the area and planning on making changes, which didn't really concern me until a residence that's adjacent to the business came over and told me a story about being told that he should be looking for a new place because the developer, we'll call him, told him that he was buying the place and knocking it down. So I reached out to the owner of that property, and the owner said no. I turned down his offer, and I was like, who does that?
Who would go up to a place and tell somebody you need to move because I'm going to knock this place down when
Yep.
they actually are not even, they didn't have permission to buy the property. There was no deal that was consummated.
Nope, and that's what started. And then when I tried to address it with the developer, he then took it out on my employees, meeting them out in their parking area and telling them, your boss is going to be out of business. You need to look for a new place to work. So what he didn't know is that our employees have been with us a long time. We don't call them employees, actually. They're part of our family. And even through the pandemic, we kept them employed without any government help, so they're
This is
extremely
one of the
loyal.
few people, Casey, you're being very honorable about this. This is probably one of the very few businesses I know of that did not apply for a PPP loan that could. There's so many that did, and so many that did that shouldn't. This man kept his people employed, and I think that's just tells you a little bit about who he is. He kept his people employed throughout the pandemic without asking for that PPP loan. And here you are today, and business is booming. You're getting rewarded for that.
Yes, I certainly am. So anyway, as I learned more about his actions and statements, and when confronted or asked what his plans were, he was giving some people the response, hey, if I don't get my way, I'm going to build low-income housing, which I personally don't think is that bad of an idea, because we need some of our employees need better, lower housing. But that's how it started. Then I received an email on the NAC board. Never been to one. Went to the NAC board. And during that meeting, I learned that, people whose homes were a year or two ago, $100,000, $200,000 retired on fixed incomes, were being told that, the sewer system was coming and that they would have to pay $13,000 to $15,000. And, if they didn't have the money, they would just lien the house. And I just spiraled with that.
Commission actually, not their last meeting, but the meeting before this, spoke about that neighborhood, and that's true. The commission had a grant to pay for part of it, but the other part of it was a match, and they were putting it on the residents in the area, and the residents came out in droves in that commission meeting, which is unusual, said, we can't afford this. We can't afford this.
But ironically, there's $200 million in the state DEP fund for clean water, and a sewer system counts for that because you're removing the sewer. Nyla Pipes
Right.
educates me on that stuff.
Yes.
And so that is just a grant. We don't need $200 million. We need, 10, 15, 20. And it's there for the asking. It's fully funded sitting there. But it gets better. For our immediate area, the
Monrovia, yes.
Monrovia, there's $100 million for that waterway.
Wow.
$100 million sitting there. And I'm told that a certain commissioner's response to that was the people need to have skin in the game. So this led me down a rabbit hole. I started looking at emails, looking at the developer and emails between the commissioner, and here I am today.
So we're going to talk about this a little bit. And folks, I have, Corey Crowley is the developer. I have reached out to him and invited him on the show. I have not heard back yet. But he has created something called Salerno Downtown Authority, which sounds like a government type of agency, but it's not.
No, it's his private company that was designed to sound like an authority. He's actually suggested that he should be his organization, which he owns individually, there's no other owner. He puts people on his board for credibility, but it's just him. And he has suggested that he should be integrated with the NAC because he hasn't been able to get on the NAC.
Which is a little interesting because I don't know that we have that in our other NACs. We have
You can't take a private company and integrate it with an appointed position.
So let's talk a little bit about what Mr. Crowley is envisioning for Port Salerno. And Iggy, as we're talking, if you can put up some of the renderings that I pulled off of Facebook that Mr. Crowley posted himself. So tell us a little bit about what he's envisioning and what made everybody go, wait a minute, this isn't our Port Salerno.
Some of the things, I haven't, there's over 200 and some odd emails to Sarah Hurd alone on his suggestions and his plans and his vision for a city. And some of those things are 3-story buildings from US 1 down to Dixie. He touts that all those buildings will have apartments on the bottom, businesses on the bottom, apartments on the middle and third floor, and a restaurant on the roof of all of his properties. It's in the emails. He wants to make Salerno one way and then return it through Seaward, which is a residential area. I was going to say low income, but I think that'll just give it a bad view. So that's some of the things.
It's not so much a bad view, Casey. I want to stop you right there because there's something, folks, we all know, it's called gentrification. It's people that have lived here for generations, and they've made their living here, whether it's fishing, whatever it happens to be, farmers market, agriculture, it doesn't matter. And all of a sudden you have outside developers come in, they redevelop an area, and now the property values have just skyrocketed. And this type of development that Casey's describing, I see it all the time, especially down in Palm Beach and Broward, Miami-Dade counties. It's a walkability model. So you have your businesses on the bottom, and you live and you work there, and then the second floor is people live there, and your entertainment's up top. But the gentrification of this is the folks that have lived here for generations no longer can afford to live there, and they're slowly pushed out. So it's
on taxes alone.
It's just.
I mean, we've been experiencing that here in Martin County. I mean, everything, even our trash. I just got a notice not long ago that our garbage is being assessed another $500 a year, but the taxes are going up. That Salerno, I'm getting thirsty though.
I had water, but not with us.
It's okay. Those families in that area, there's, 4 generations still living there. And they work hard. They're just being pushed around, and nobody stood up and said, no, we're not going to allow this.
And I want to say too, I know Iggy was putting up the different renderings of Port Salerno, and they look pretty and beautiful, but does it fit the community? And that's what the real question is here, right?
Right. So what he's done is he's backtracked because he started receiving so much pushback. So now he's taken the lot and painted it as a pretty picture of an open air market and trying to garner all the support for that. What he's trying to garner the support for is parking. So his project isn't economically feasible for him unless he has parking. He wants the town or the CRA or the residents to pay for parking specifically for his project. He'll say it's not. He repeatedly says it's not, but that's why. So right now he's doing an open air market. We need parking. Once the parking's there, he wants to put the pictures that you might have just shown, which is fine. If he's building within the code, I have no issue with it. What I have an issue with is paying for the infrastructure to support specifically his vision.
I've always had a problem with the taxpayers being asked to subsidize a private corporation that is for profit. So that is something that I have never supported, and we see it all the time, unfortunately, but unless we have good folks like Casey Cass standing up and bringing it to our attention, it kind of is something that's passed quietly, and next thing you know, our tax bills are going up, just as we're seeing right now. couple comments here from Facebook. Andre Thompson, according to sunbiz.org, Downtown Salerno Authority is a not-for-profit organization. It was set up as a not-for-profit.
That's what I've heard.
That's a designation. It's a tax designation, folks. So it still can be a business, but it's a tax designation. Amy Pritchard, it's part of 2130, live, work, play, no cars, and public transportation. Make everyone dependent on the government. And that is what these walkability type communities are designed to do. You're right, Amy. So thank you for pointing that out. So what kind of feedback are you getting from the community, Casey? I've seen it on social media, but I know your phone has probably been ringing off the hook.
It has. I typically work as much as 16 to 18 hours a day, so it's definitely been taxing. But the outpouring of support and responses and thank yous and asking if they can help is been inspiring. It's humbling.
So Save Our Salerno, this is something that, again, Casey's helping to spearhead. And folks, this is your time to get involved and make your community the way you see it. Mr. Crowley has come in and he's presenting some ideas, but if this isn't what you believe your community should be, now is the time to speak up. If you wait till it's passed, it's too late. And that's what Save Our Salerno is all about. And I have seen such a rise in such a short amount of time of people supporting. And matter of fact, you had a logo contest.
We did just have a logo contest. I'm going to guess here. I think we had 40 entries.
They're amazing. If you look at KC Cass, if you can go to your Facebook page, KC Cass.
Yep, they're still there. Today's the last day, so
do a like whichever one you're voting for. Go ahead and like it. A lot of great entries.
We did it to tie the community to it and involve people in it. And I think our youngest contestant is, I think, 4 or 5.
Very adorable little logo that she made. I had to like it myself. It was very cute.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I was hoping somebody would like it. I didn't want to go and like and have people think that I was leaning toward one or the other.
Right.
But people put their heart into that as well to try and capture the essence of Salerno and,
Well, you can tell the logos of the people that are from there because they know the heart and the essence of Salerno. And there's some that have the white fishing boots, and that really caught a lot of people's attention. The fishermen, the boats. It's
right.
So
the fishermen are definitely watching everything closely because this whole, for lack of a better term, war. It started on the other side of the tracks, down on the waterfront, and that's where it started. And then it's moved over to I live on the poor side of the tracks,
right.
So, but for years we've talked about parking down in Salerno, and it's been part of the long-term plan. They were talking about it when I got here 28 years ago. Parking in Salerno. But the bottom line is, on that side of the tracks, on the east side of the tracks, where the bulk of the businesses are,
right.
You may need parking. The only time I ever saw no parking was during the Seafood Fest.
Right.
That's it. And they still managed it. They parked and they went to the Seafood Fest. Now all of a sudden the big push is on the west side of the railroad tracks, which is where there's residents on both sides, obviously, but closer to the residents in some cases. There's no need for parking there unless you're building it to support something. If he'd like to do that, he should be offering to pay for that himself, is
100%.
what I feel. Instead, the town is looking at all different options of using their land and paying for it. And this impacts everybody. It's a Martin County issue. Jensen Beach has been developing out of control for the past couple of years. This is the last old Florida we have. And I'm not saying it needs to stay exactly the same. I'm not saying we need to be in lockdown. I'm saying the residents should have a hand in everything they do. And they do through their NAC, but not a lot of them were aware of that whole process. So another good thing that, thank you, Mr. Crowley, you've banded people together. People are talking to each other. They're defending their history and their they're coming out in droves, and they've been educated. So in that respect, it could be a positive thing, without a doubt.
And for you folks that are listening, wondering what can I do, again, Casey's helped spearheading Save Our Salerno SOS. And if you go to Casey's Facebook page, it's KC Cass, CASS. CASEY is his first name, a little different from mine. You'll get a lot of information about what's been going on, and there's a lot more information than what we're even covering here on the show. So I highly recommend that you do that. But you can certainly support Port Salerno and the cause by following Save Our Salerno. And you're going to be having a meeting about Save Our Salerno very soon.
So core group is getting together to try and establish an interim board. And our hope is that we develop an organization that carries on well beyond, this one obstacle that we're dealing with now. That's what I hope for them. So.
It's something I think all of our communities are going to have to deal with. We had something called Senate Bill 102 go through, which took away a lot of home rule, and I know that's been kind of tossed around out there too.
Well, he uses it as a weapon, and he says, well, I can go around this and I can do this, but there's a little bit more to it. It's not that simple.
It's, in a nutshell, I'll try and explain it because it isn't that simple, but commercial properties can be used for multifamily now without, the county commission does not have the authority to say yes or no. However, something you've been saying a lot, Casey, and folks pay attention, that doesn't mitigate parking rules.
Exactly.
You still need parking.
You still need to support it.
It's 100. Yeah, you still need to follow those kind of rules, and parking is probably a bane for the developers in any sense of the world wherever they go. But that's why the regulations and the zoning is there to make sure everybody can live, park, and be there that needs to be there. Amy, Casey, thank you for bringing the attention to the Martin County residents. Knowledge is power, 100% right. That's why I do it. Knowledge is power, and it's so important that everybody get involved and make your voice be heard. Something that this is happening all over. Indiantown's worrying about it. Jensen Beach, I want to reach out to those folks as well. They have another issue going on. And unless folks, if they don't speak up, the county commission just goes ahead and says, oh, nobody's opposed to it. Great idea. Let's vote for it. But here, Casey, I commend you because you have probably jumped on board on something very early on where you can change the direction possibly.
I hope so. I mean, that's our sincere hope. And once again, we're not trying to stop development. We're not trying to stop people from being able to build within the CRA code. On the principle side, I don't like somebody who attacks innocent people, tries to intimidate them, and that's where I entered. But now that I know more,
that's what brought it to your attention.
I've been educated, so I'm here.
And I want to point out too, back to Anders Thompson's comment that Downtown Salerno Authority is a nonprofit organization. Again, that is Mr. Crowley's organization, but that is not the organization that would be doing the development. So we really don't know who Mr. Crowley represents.
No, I don't know
if
much
he does
about
anybody, I don't know.
I don't know much about his investors. I'm confident he has investors, and I'm confident that he needs to make certain things happen. When he gets negative answers, he gets, for lack of a better term, belligerent and condescending and tries to be intimidating. It's just that he can't intimidate me, and he cannot intimidate the residents of Salerno.
No, they're not backing down. No. That's for certain.
They're real people.
In your research, Casey, how long has Mr. Crowley been actually talking maybe to commissioners and maybe trying to start bringing this to fruition?
So really only about a year. So I don't know the exact date, but it's approximately a year. I think he's been in the area, hanging around and drinking and trying to befriend people, but his first letters to Commissioner Hurd were right about a year ago.
So a year, and all of a sudden here we're hearing about it now. But again, Casey, I appreciate you coming in. You've really enlightened us to a lot about what's going on. Our half hour moves very quickly here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's absolutely been my pleasure. I imagine there'll probably be a website and a Facebook page for Save Our Salerno coming.
Next week. So I believe that the website will be up next week. We'll start publishing letters to the commissioners that he's written, the contradictions between what he says now and what he said last month, and then he basically adjusts it to adjust his comments or his statements to fit his audience, but they all contradict each other, so.
And that's going to be interesting, and that's where the proof is in the pudding, as I say from the Midwest here. You have it in writing, and folks can look for themselves and decide for yourself, and that's really what this is about today. I appreciate Casey. He's so incredibly busy, and you're taking time out of your schedule. It'd be nice to have a person like this on our commission and that, but frankly, you're too busy to get involved with politics, aren't you?
I think if we don't have a person, I will, but I think we do already have a person.
So you're somebody that you can support. So stay tuned for that as well. Yeah. Next week, I'm going to have Dave Hafner on from the 4-H Extension Agent Office. He's my counterpart here at the fairgrounds, helping out all the 4-H youth in the area. So it's going to be exciting to see what his plans are. He's newly appointed this year, so a lot of great things on the horizon there. Again, Casey Casco Tools, and SOS, Save Our Salerno. Great organization. Let's all band together, and you know what? No matter where you stand on any issue, just make your voice heard. That's what's important.
Exactly.
Thanks much. We'll tune in next week, and I'll see you next week with Dave Hafner.